Okay. Welcome everybody to the EVM Working Group's weekly update. I will share the agenda. Hold on 1 second. There we are. Okay. So today we have one extra item on the roadmap. If anybody has something else to propose, please speak up. Nothing comes to mind? Okay. Let's proceed and see if we can come up with something along the way. So let's begin with the current goal. We remain on the current goal of working towards the testnet release by the end of Q1. So that's about 1 month away. Alex, let's do the weekly updates, beginning with you.
Sure, not major from my side, not a lot of updates from my side. I was working with Evgeny a little bit, helping with the work on the near site Eth connector, and like lots of just small tasks regarding the Aurora thing, but in general nothing crucial for the current stage of the project.
Eth connector and Aurora miscellaneous tasks.
Yep.
Okay. On my end, it's been a fragmented week as I've been dealing with some healthcare matters. Mostly I've been supporting Joshua for onboarding and working through also many small things about Aurora and conversations, and working on the EVM contract refactor / upgrade. Now I reached Wei Tang from Parity happily, and as a result I have some news to share. Let me see my notes here. So we have now a connection with upstream on the Sputnik VM project, and what they report is that from their point of view, the EVM crate that we are utilizing is fairly stable and feature complete in terms of the Istanbul hard fork support. They have begun work on, apparently because of our prompting, on the Berlin hard fork. So there is some work ongoing for the Berlin hard fork. Actually, pull requests indeed, code being written, and that's great. So that's coming along. And they tell us that it's a good idea for us to upgrade as quickly as possible to the latest version, because the latest version includes significant performance improvements, up to 5x multiplier in some cases. They also thank us for using Sputnik VM, as in they are very happy that Near is using it, and or at least considering using it, let's put it this way. And they've even tweeted about that. Also, they say that they need some helping hands for implementing the rest of the Berlin hard fork. And conversely, we promised them some extra hands going forward once we have hands available. So that's conversations with Sputnik VM upstream. So that's about all from my end. Evgeny?
Fixed issues related with compilations. OS connector, it was some issues related to toolchain that I don't know how to fix, but fix it. Issues related to dependencies. It was Bitwag and Fanti conflicts. Also, yeah, I'm post all issues related to compilations. After that, when my Okrs completed contract in near SDK, I integrated to S connector. So I completely remove copy paste source code. And currently I have good dependencies to near SDK. And after that, I covered with near integration. I'm sorry, test integrations test, and I covered my contracts, and I can currently connect with Kirill and test with smart contract from April.
So the DS connector is actually able to connect to the other side already.
Yes, I deployed to testnet, and I test in real testnet, so it's worked fine. And I integrated fungible tokens, so we can easily to test it. And for me, it's really important that I cover it with integration tests, so it's really easy to find some bugs.
Okay. All right, great. Looking forward to thinking more on that. Okay, Frank.
Yeah, I kept working on the EVM bully. I added some option that we can change the testnet, so you can switch to testnet now. I read out the block context, the issue Alex raised and that we discussed about that we need an additional context. I read out all of that information, made it ready for submission to the EVM, and also read out the Genesis state. That's basically just initial address balances we have to set, and also added an RPC client so we can actually actually submit the transactions. So tested that against Geth, and then next step would be to run it against Near. There are some issues I ran into there we should discuss in the sync.
Okay, so let me add that to the agenda then.
I think it's probably best if we just discuss it.
I think we'll have time on this call, I think.
Okay, sure.
Joshua.
Yeah, sure. I went through the EVM source code and noted some potential to-dos at the beginning of the week, which may or may not exist after the refactor. Got the EVM set up locally and working with my ledger. I found a potential problem with cargo lock, as some of you may have seen. It's just an issue I kept seeing popping up. When every single time we added a new dependency, there was a bit of clashing involved with dependencies. I went through the EVM slideshow as it's a wealth of information and quizzed myself. And then finally, I got the upgrade branch reviewed, compiling, and I started on testing, but ran into a couple of snags that I sent to you.
So testing is the sim test that Ilya asked for?
Yeah, the sim testing, yes.
Okay. What do you mean by the slideshow?
I just wanted to make sure I had everything out of it that I could pull out of it. It's quite extensive.
But which one? I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
Oh, you remember the one that you sent to me? You're like, this is like the one that's like a wealth of information. Go through it a few times.
Okay, yeah, the walkthrough,
yeah.
The code walkthrough. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
As in the code walkthrough with Ilya, right?
Yeah, then I wrote some questions, and at the end of it, I did like a self-quiz.
Yeah, okay. All right. Good. So yes, updates done, unless we have Ilya also. Do we have Ilya here? No Ilya. Okay. Yeah, so then discussion segment. Let's add the bully, and we could also talk about the ETH connector, I suppose. Alex, have you had a chance to connect on the connector or SymConnect connector?
What do you mean? With him? With whom?
Well, Evgeny and Kirill, you also know where we are with that.
Yeah, we were connecting with Evgeny
Okay.
over the course of this week,
Okay.
trying. So yeah, we are trying to. At the moment, I believe Evgeny is trying to deploy the connector itself to the near testnet and Robson, for example, and try the transfer itself. So that will be the perfect outcome for ETH connector. I believe it's not yet there. So still some work needs to be done on this.
Okay. So Yevgeny, are you in any way blocked currently, needing anybody's help, or everything is proceeding nicely?
I talked with Kirill about integration with Robstem, and he should help me with that.
Okay. Let me see. I remember that you had the you had a pull request in the works. So let me add the.
No, I changed it to
this one no longer. Not
Yeah.
this one.
Oh, this one.
yes.
Okay. Yes, quite a lot of work there. Okay, I need to catch up on that. I'm a little bit out of touch on that.
Already more than 3,500 lines of code.
Yeah, good work.
One of the things here that is still important for us is the fungible token connector.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was suggesting to Evgeny to not to focus a lot on this. We don't need to publish Eth connector together with the bridge right now. So we can use whatever we want to use it right now. So we can take the current point of view on how the fungible token should look like before this finalized, and just use it like this. And then at the moment when we're going to merge Eth connector and the near EVM, then update it, remove the usage of the STD, and also insert the correct version of the fungible token implementation that is created together with the standard. So I believe the fungible token standardization process is not blocking us here. It is much more important for the ERC20 connector that should be released in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Now I saw that Mike was doing a bunch of work on that also, as in the fungible standard. So you have all the support you need on that?
I believe so, yeah. Mike and the Berry Pickers team are heads down on this task. Right after the EVM call, we're going to have the open call for the fungible token standard, and on Monday we're going to have a separate call with Mike and Marcelo specifically to understand that we have everything that we need for the bridge. I believe during the course of this week and maybe Monday, the standard for the fungible token is going to be finalized. Literally, the things that are left there is just like some minor small things with the namings of methods and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. So all NEPs to do with fungible tokens will be standardized, or will be done with by next week then.
Yeah, 141, 145, 148.
All right. So if no questions on that, let's move on to the bully. So now I remember that what we talked about the block context, Frank, we might want to summarize here to, let's see, here we are. Yeah, we might want to summarize for everybody so that they know what the difficulty here is. As in, there exist a number of opcodes in the EVM, specifically 5 opcodes that obtain block context. And of course, in Solidity, you have primitives for accessing the results of this. So in other words, a Solidity contract can get not only the block's current number, but also indeed something like the block's current block's difficulty, the gas limit used, even the timestamp, and address of the current block's miner. And these are pretty interesting from the point of view of a replayer like the bully. As in, we actually have to provide fake context for transactions being replayed in order for them to, let's say, commit with the same final state as they did on the chain we are replaying from. So that's an interesting problem. There's a further interesting problem, which is the block hash opcode. This perhaps is the most difficult one of all, because it can access state for the last 256 most recent blocks, at which point our simulation, so to speak, of the block structure in the near chain that we are targeting becomes a little bit strange, given that we don't have the same block boundaries or anything else really. So Frank and I figured out a solution to this earlier this week, as in what we have to do is ultimately these opcodes running on our EVM when transactions are being replayed, they have to produce the same results as they do in the original chain, and the only way that's going to happen is by us providing this context to them explicitly, as in when Frank is sending a transaction through the bully through our RPC Web3 RPC proxy and ultimately landing in the EVM contract, he has to provide not only the raw transaction, he has to provide this information as well. And then the EVM contract has to put in place a runtime context where these opcodes are going to return the expected values. So this could be called something like benchmarking mode or in the development mode. It's not something that we would make available as a facility to end users when the EVM contract is deployed on chain, but rather it's just in order to support a tool like the bully, we will be able to run benchmark scenarios where this facility is available. So it will be something like a compile flag in the EVM contract. So let's, Frankie, do you have anything to add to that description, or is that a correct description?
That's a correct description. The only way maybe to add is that we discussed that we're probably going to deploy a separate EVM for testing then, because we also have to change the chain ID. That also has to match the original.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we have here, let's see, where do we get the, I don't find that here, but I mean, there's an EIP for an opcode that gives the chain ID. So I guess this is not updated for that. Right. So indeed, overall there's seven opcodes that we have thought about so far, where we have to provide this overridden runtime context. So let's find this again. Coinbase timestamp, number, difficulty, gas limit, block hash, and then the chain ID opcode.
I'm not sure if it's an opcode. I think it's just checked when the EVM processes the transaction that the chain ID matches.
Can we actually to put the chain ID also in the context?
We could do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So not to have
approach.
a separate same approach, but and not to have a separate deployment.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
as Artur suggested, and I was like commenting in the issue, we can guard all this additional raw transaction call with context with the feature flag that is not going to be released anytime to the mainnet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So this makes sense as an approach. It enables the bully. So go ahead, Frank, and describe where we are on this in more detail.
Just one thing why I'm pushing on having a separate contract, because I'm worried that the state might interfere otherwise. Because if we have a separate contract just for testing, we basically start from a clean slate with the genesis state, and then we can replay everything. If we have to put it all in a different in the same contract, we might have state interference. That's what I'm worrying about. That's why.
Yeah, sure. But ultimately, I mean, the benchmarking you're doing right now, you have as I understand it, a dedicated server where you will be running near core, and you'll be running it using this, let's say, benchmarking flag or mode deployment, and then you'll collect numbers there. So in that case, it's pretty ephemeral in terms of target context.
Yeah, sure.
On betanet, yeah, sure, we wouldn't ever put this on the main EVM account.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Okay, does anybody have any questions or concerns about the presented approach?
So a question is, what happens when a contract is deployed on the actual production, in the actual production setting that calls one of those fields that's not actually available? Oh, I mean, one of the opcodes.
Those opcodes are all mapped to, let's see if I remember out of hand here. Hold on. So I believe that we haven't implemented block hash. I could be wrong, but I think that's one of the pending tickets. On the other hand, the timestamp actually returns the near APIs timestamp as an
What about difficulty, for example?
That one I don't believe that is currently implemented, but I would have to look again. So the ones I remember offhand are timestamp and block number. We map those to the obvious things.
Sure, but we don't provide Coinbase, for example. We don't provide, well, difficulty. I don't know how you're going to map it.
Well, exactly,
and I don't think gas limit is exposed either.
Yeah, the gas limit, I think we want to return something reasonable because there are there's logic in contracts that uses that.
At the moment,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, at the moment the gas limit in NEAR is just like determined as constants.
Right, so we would be able to return a value there. Yeah.
With the difficulty, I think again, Coinbase difficulty is this is something like some kind of context. We do not like these are obviously not going to be. These are not like widely used opcodes for sure. We need to return something, some kind of simulated value, and that's it.
I suppose the point is that it would be bad if people deploy their contract, then the round and just fail, or like have some very inconsistent behavior as to compared to when they're deployed on Ethereum.
Yeah, sure. So they need to return reasonable kind of default values, as in the value should be along the lines of what's expected on the F1 chain. But as you noted, Bowen, it is not as though we can map every single one of them to some reasonable concept. So I believe that in other EVM compatible chains, these are pretty dummified values as well. So it's nothing different on our part in this case. But I think the block hash is the biggest problem both for the bully and for us generally. We'll have to visit that one again. Go ahead, Frank.
For the Coinbase, you can probably get away with just returning a 0 address. That's also on testnet a lot. I mean, basically,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember that there are S1 testnets that are not actually proof of work. So in other words, we should just emulate whatever you get returned in a proof of authority or proof of stake version of that. So that needs ticketing. Let me note here. This is not.
So there they return the 0 address. That's what they do.
Okay. Yeah. So this is not really about the bully specifically, but as a follow-up for me, I need to actually ticket the checking what we do with these and having a strategy for it. So okay, for the EVM bulletin, did you have something you wanted to discuss, Frank, in specific?
Or well, we said we wanted to go to the Web3 provider, right?
Yes.
And we also have the NEAR ETH RPC, which basically wraps that again as a JSON RPC.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured it's probably the best to go through that.
Yes, of course. That's basically the RPC proxy, so that's what you should be going through.
Yeah. And did anyone of you use that on Linux before?
Yes, I use it on Linux.
Do you install through npm directly, globally or locally?
Good question. I think I just use that directly locally, as in it's not a global installation. I don't see why it would be a global installation.
Okay, because I wasn't able to get it to run on 2 different systems, like the npm installation failed.
Okay, well then let's troubleshoot that together after this. So this is the RPC proxy. Okay, but now in terms of the, let's see what we have here. In terms of the block hash, did you have any new thoughts, Frank, since we last talked about this?
Well, I would either have another call where we explicitly set this, or we keep state on the near core side. I mean, basically
well, it's not near core, it's EVM contract now.
Or on the EVM contract side.
Yeah. Well,
I think
preferably we don't keep state, but of course, on the other hand, in terms of providing the context for the call, it would not be great if you had to on every transaction provide the block hash context, which means a massive JSON object, with 256 block hashes. At that point, our benchmarking starts to be fairly limited by JSON parsing and serialization. So
yeah, that's what I meant. I mean, either we have to do it implicitly by replaying transactions from every block, and some blocks don't have transactions, so we would have to submit the block hash with another call, or we just have, let's say, a submit block hash call that updates the state, and then we submit the transactions. So,
right.
I mean, we're basically iterating through the blocks, and for every block, we're iterating through the transactions, and I think we have to submit the block hash separately and update the state somehow on the contract side.
So interleaving basically block begin and ends between the transactions. Some kind of,
or at least the begin. Yeah.
So that's nasty, but it may be what's needed in order for the benchmarking to give useful figures.
I think so, yeah.
So in short, this is like an additional comment to submit raw transaction with context. Now submit the previous block hash or something like that.
Yeah.
Or just begin a new block basically, and then the EVM contract has to keep track of the blocks.
Okay.
But yeah, it is a bit unfortunate. This one is, I think, the only really difficult one. The others are fairly trivial to handle. Now the other approach I had suggested is.
Yeah, Arthur, one second. But this is needed only for the bully, so it's not going to be. And how we are going to and how we are going to expose this in the mainnet.
We aren't. So this is all about the benchmarking mode.
Yeah. Okay.
So the other approach I had suggested is that potentially this isn't used that much with block heights larger than a handful for just the most recent blocks, and in that case we could provide those let's say the most recent 8 or 16 block hashes. We could provide that as part of the context, in which case the EVM contract doesn't need to keep any additional state for the benchmarking mode, and then we could just bail out in case it turns out that something is calling a block hash with, let's say, actually 255 or whatever. This might be a worthwhile thing to start with, because unless there's some kind of test contract somewhere that uses indeed a very deep block hash, then it's not much sense spending time on this if we can actually successfully replay a chain without needing the full support for this. So keep that in mind, Frank, that perhaps we don't need full support for this one for doing the benchmarking.
Yeah, I would start without the support, maybe submit a few block hashes with the transaction, and then we see if transactions fail.
Yeah, exactly. Mind you, when something fails, then this would be one of the main hypotheses for why it failed. And you would have to figure out for a failure, was it caused by this or not?
Sure.
Okay.
Wait, so what is the plan for this this opcode when it's actually deployed in production? Like, are people just not going to be able to use it, or what?
Bowen, we don't as yet have a plan for this in production. This has been an open issue, I think, for 6 months.
Okay.
I think there's a ticket about this. I don't have it here offhand, I don't believe. Yes, actually I do. I have almost all tickets bookmarked. Yeah. So currently return #00, as you see, from October by Ilya. And yeah, I see you commented as well back in the day.
I didn't know that it needs to access 256 block. I saw this. It only needs the current block hash, and then there it's much easier.
Yeah, theirs will be easier. But yeah, this, as you see, it's a little bit more complicated than that, and it's a good question. I think it's the most difficult opcode for us to handle, given that we aren't actually S1. So I think one place to start is surveying what other EVM compatible chains are doing in this regard. And
can we just simulate block hash by like hashing the block height and telling that this hash is the block hash? So what we want to have some pseudo-random number, but which doesn't necessarily correspond with the actual block, given that our actual block anyway are much different from Ethereum blocks.
Maybe the difficulty. Actually, there is some kind of connection.
I think that's a good idea. If you can get away with that, that's what we should do. The question is, if we ever have to look something up based on the produced block hash, then obviously we wouldn't be able to reverse that. But yeah, I mean, if you can get away with that, that would be a fine approach. But in general, this needs revisit.
In general, you can't reverse block hash because it's a hash. So you can use it as some sort of map, but you can use the simulated block hash in the same way.
There might be some problems with the contracts like light client, so like clients that are actually checking the hashes because of some kind of crypto proofs. But I'm not sure what's the point in having Ethereum light clients on Ethereum. Yeah.
To work, we will need like to have the entire Ethereum blockchain somewhere, and we are not probably going to have it. We are going to have just the EVM.
That's right. Yeah, so I think something like that is what we'll end up doing. Let's come back to that. That's not even on our Q1 roadmap, and I think we can defer the question. For now, it returns 0, as Ilya noted in the ticket. Okay. So one final question, Frank. Did you check with Upstream, as in Ethereum, the Ethereum organization, whether they are working with some kind of replayer, as I had noted before?
As far as I know, they don't. No, I mean, when I was talking to Guillaume last time, he wasn't aware of anything like that. I mean, I can check it.
You should check again. Their plans in that regard came after that call you had with him, and which is why I thought they might have been inspired by your call. But if that work is proceeding somewhere, then please find that work and let's sync with those people doing that work.
Okay.
Okay. So let me add that as a.
Okay. Do you have an idea who to ask? I mean, I can ask Guillaume again if he knows.
You can start with Guillaume. I think it's. I don't remember who on the call mentioned that. It's the call a month ago, I think, where it was mentioned.
Okay.
I'll send you the call where they discuss it. Okay.
Thanks.
Then unless there's some other agenda items, let's do a bit of our OKR review. So I will stop the share. Well, actually, no, we can first go to the OKRs here. So, and kind of an interim OKR review where we are. So these are the Q1 OKRs we defined a little over a month ago, as in not exactly at the beginning of January. Here we have the first one is basically about the bully now, what we call the bully now. So this is the replayer actually taking at one chain some of the testnets and replaying that to get some figures. And Frank, what would you estimate as the completion percentage of this assigned to you OKR?
What to tell? 50.
Okay, that seems reasonable. I would perhaps even put it higher. You've done most of the work, I think, by now, at least outlined most of the work.
Yeah, I put it at 50 because there's some risk on the submission side, which I don't know how much work it will be. So
yeah,
maybe it's easier.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, Alex, we have the question of incentivized active attacks for 2 weeks, as in the bug bounty.
Yeah, so we decided to postpone this to the next quarter. Can you please open the notes? Maybe we have put there some additional stuff besides the adversarial attacks inside of the OKRs.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nothing.
Well, there's something here.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that potentially, since we have, and actually Evgeny Kapun is on the call, so we are not going to do the bug bounty for it right now, but maybe Evgeny Kapun would be able in the end of the quarter to take a look at the EVM and try to to hack the smart contract and review the code of it. So Evgeny, what do you think? Is it something that is interesting for you?
Maybe what's the current state? So I think we are now going to have EVM as a regular smart contract with just some host function for some performance critical part.
You're absolutely right.
So what is the state? As far as I know, these host functions are not fully implemented. So what do we have at the moment? Do we have everything in WASM, including that code?
Mostly the EVM is in the smart contract implemented in Rust,
Basically,
which is located in near EVM repo.
So for now, everything is in WASM, but we are going to change it, because one of the issue that I found when I looked at the RTOS PR for host function is that Blake2 function that RTO added can't be used to implement Blake2 precompile that is in EVM. So probably no one tried, because this Blake2 precompile is not very, it's somewhat strange. It doesn't, what it implements, it is not actually Blake2 function. It's a slightly different function. I think you can open its EIP 152.
152.
So it's so-called compression function. It is one of the internal part of Blake2, and this version has some extra arguments like number of rounds, which is usually fixed, but this precompile allows the caller to specify it, so we will need our own implementation. I had a look at how Geth is implementing this precompile. So they made the copy of Blake2 code from Go's not exactly standard library. It's golang.org/x. It's kind of like extended standard library. So they made a copy of this Blake 2 implementation from there and modified it to implement this. So probably we will also have to make a copy of some Blake 2 implementation to if we want to implement this per compile.
Yeah, sure. This is just a draft PR so far. There's 2 PRs about landing the host functions. This is one, and I believe the other one is proceeding. Yeah, thank you for the comment. I hadn't had a chance to respond to it yet. The other one is, it should be there. Yeah, for the alt PN 128. This one is moving along on Eugene's side. Let's see where we are with that now.
Also need to review it with regards to Ethereum compatibility, like how well can we use it to implement those precompiles.
Yes, this is definitely the case. We have not reviewed that as yet. So that is a good thing to review. This is being landed for other reasons, as in this is being landed to support the Zero Pool project in particular. So we should make sure that we can support both the EVM and Zero Pool ideally. Okay, let me add also those to the notes. So this is an additional item here. Contract recompile support. So to align align those. The comment was there. Yeah, right. So at the moment, indeed, everything is implemented in WebAssembly only. The performance improvements will take some time to land on particularly testnet in any case. So Alex, what's your current concept for when we would actually begin the bug bounty? It's about the bridge also, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere around the middle of April.
Okay.
We still need to plan it. We still need to agree on this, but this is like my personal point of view when it's wise to do it.
So in other words, 6 to 7 weeks.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So at the moment, it would be fair to say this is we are running out of time on this call. Yeah.
Yeah.
Running out of time, so we can spend that much actually per OKR right now. We have about 13 minutes in the most optimistic sense and 3 minutes for the ostensible end of the call. So let's go through this a little bit faster. So convenient to maintain. We have discussed the metrics with the infrastructure team, as in we have a list of metrics communicated to them that we need. On the other hand, we haven't begun on handbooks and we haven't implemented the gathering of the metrics with them as yet. So I would put this at perhaps 20%. Does that seem fair to you, Alex?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, here I just want to mention that again, the situation have changed, and now we need to take care about some additional stuff, like for example that the EVM account has enough money to fund the storage, stuff like that.
Yeah, the scope has a little bit expanded for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have the UX question. This is well, this is coming along nicely in terms of the S connector. It's mostly about the S connector in terms of achieving this OKR. What would you say, Alex, Evgeny, we should put here at the moment?
So I think we should put here the same thing that we have put in the bridge. You can switch the tab and check what's in the bridge OKRs, and I believe it's around 40% at the moment. So it's upper, it's higher. Yeah, and we put 40% not because of not to overshoot here, because we still need to integrate 2 sides of the connector. We still need to deploy it, test it. So lots of the stuff needs to be done, but already quite a lot of the work is done.
Okay. Now, an Ethereum developer is able to deploy This is mostly about us being feature complete, and then about all the documentation needed for a developer to succeed with the solution. This one, I think, is coming along nicely. We have a ton of documentation. On the other hand, the feature completeness is not doing great given the switch to the EVM compile approach, contract approach. So I would say that if it wasn't for us switching over to the contract, I think this would be nearing completion by now. But given that we did switch to the contracts, we are not doing great on feature completeness. Does 50% seem fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Compatibility. So this is mostly about the Berlin hard fork, and we decided to descope the Berlin hard fork given that it's being postponed by upstream. As in, there's now a block height set for it, which will land somewhere around the middle of April, as in April 14, 15. And that means that it's no longer a Q1 concern for us. And also, actually, all the work is being done by upstream on Sputnik, although we would want to support that. So I would skip assigning a score there. We are at time in terms of the length of the meeting, so anybody who needs to hop, go ahead and hop. We will just continue going through this and then wrap up. So protocol upgrade. This you have, Alex, you have posted the protocol upgrade proposal essentially to the forum. Now, of course, the scope got changed here as well, in that we changed to the EVM contract approach, and it's no longer such a big ball and chain in terms of the near core changes.
Mm-hmm.
What would you think is a good thing to assign here?
I think we can put here 50%. Obviously, it's not enough to only post stuff. We need to also to gather some feedback. Yeah, so some still work to be done here.
Okay. Now for partner support, partners being able to succeed, basically. Enough everything. So they certainly begin to have soon enough to documentation. Tooling is very easy, as in they should just be able to change the endpoint, and that's what we enable with the current proxy approach. And support, yeah, I think we're doing well on this. I'm not sure how we would assign a score to this right now, given that we, for example, we don't run yet any Web3 proxy endpoints that people can just point at. We have the code for it, but we don't host anything right now.
Yeah.
What do you think, Alex?
I don't know. It's hard. So the metric here is fully based on the fact that EVM is on the testnet and people can try it. I don't know, maybe 20%, something like that. Just to indicate that we are moving forward.
Right. I mean, the on testnet is a necessary condition and not a sufficient one.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's put 20. That's certainly conservative. I would probably have put something higher. Okay, and the bridge is coming along. As in the S bridging is coming along nicely. That was weighted as at half of this.
Yeah, so this is actually, so we were put in the UX the score for the F bridging. So
it's true.
Yeah, so we can put here probably 20% because this is 0.4 multiplied by 0.5.
Yeah.
We decide most probably the ERC20 bridging is not going to be implemented at all. And here in the UX, the Ethereum end user with MetaMask is able to send transaction. This is about the RPC proxy more. So with this point we are finished. But with the UX line number 6. I think here we need to assign the other score because this is about the RPC proxy, how it is, whether it is good or not. So what's the state of it? I'm not quite sure.
Well, I don't think it's production ready by any means. It's a prototype at the most. On the other hand, so far it works, as in we don't have any active issues to address on it at this moment. One reason for that, though, is that we, given the immaturity of the EVM contract as yet, we don't pass, for example, all test suites that we want to test against this whole stack. So I would say that that's mostly implemented, but it's likely to need some more fine tuning going forward.
Mm-hmm. So do you think 40% is something reasonable?
I think 40 is pretty reasonable there. I mean, these are all judgment calls right now. We don't have any objective metric by which to assign this. So not as yet.
Okay.
So no. Okay. Well, with that, we are over time, and I would wrap up. I don't think this is a public link, this OKR.
Yeah, it is not.
But we can put the internal link here, and let's create a public link for showing it. If somebody has the Airtable access to do that. Okay. Anything else that somebody wants to bring up? If not, then that's everything for today. And I shall write up these notes a little bit more afterwards. So thank you, and see you in a week's time.
See you.
You guys.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye.